Benjamin.
Hello, hello. How you doing, Dedisi?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I think I've
Nice,
just made my
nice.
first hire. So,
Oh, cool, cool. Awesome. Give me 1 sec as well. Uh, all right. Mm, all right. Let me get the doc open. All right, cool. All right. So February 3rd. There we go.
mm,
Copy this. And then I'll ping David as well. He's been interested in joining the America time zone, so
okay.
he'll probably
Oh,
start.
thank you for putting my thing in there. Appreciate
Oh
it.
yeah,
Or
yeah, no
participants.
problem.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll probably have him start attending as well.
Okay.
Look at open issues, action items, and then there we go. And hey, Victor, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Um, when you finish your regular topic, I have some
Some questions?
related question, related topic.
Okay, all right, works for me. Yeah, so I just got the doc set up. Let me put the doc in here so you can just sign in if you already haven't. Let me find where the chat is. Just throw it in the Zoom chat here. So please sign in and with the company association and the time zone, please. This helps us get a familiarity of where everyone's at. So I still unfortunately I haven't been able to get the website open in a PR. I've just been super swamped. But yeah, I haven't even been able to work on really much code, unfortunately. So yeah, so like I said, I'll definitely get that out soon. I don't want to keep giving a date, but um website. It's almost ready for review.
Okay.
I'll just put this for now, but I will let's try to timeline it rather than just say this date. I will put with confidence. Let me see what when if I look at the calendar with confidence that I can probably have this by the 13th. So I think that's going to be the goal. Right. 13th goal, roadmap. Yeah, I'll just say goal. So that's what I will try to get that as a PR. I just been, yeah, unfortunately just too swamped. So,
Dude, I
um,
understand.
yep. So yeah, so the important topics I think that need to be covered today is mostly around the SDKs, because I've been, just basically rebuilding the Java SDK, and I want to kind of go over through some of the patterns with you, just to make sure that this works for you.
Okay.
So right now we have a base. So the Java, so mind you, this is going to be Java, but for all the other SDKs are eventually going to support the same contracts, if you will.
Yep.
So the introduction is this base event abstract class. So if it doesn't have OO, like Go, for example, it would just rely on its, paradigms to uh, accomplish the same thing. But the idea is that we would have this abstract class, means that no event can just be a base event. It needs to be, it is abstract. It needs something to implement its functionality. Um, so this base event is going to implement three interfaces, which is the subject interface, the context interface, and the custom data interface, which is just basically like getters and setters, for example. And so that way, if you are only interested in the custom data, you could just pass that around the custom data interface, and the event will just be able to satisfy that interface, right? So
Yep.
that's the idea. So the base event is just going to have the context, the subject, and the custom data. So the subject is a little bit interesting in that the subject has these generic fields, but then this content section, which is where the difference between events are. So the idea there is that we're going to use like a generic type for Java. So like this probably doesn't matter too much because it's more Java specifics and just OO specifics. But my question to you though, will that work for your what you're thinking for for like namespacing event, base event, etc., or does it need to be more?
Well, okay. So the you said that the base event itself is um what's the best way to say this? Will, if you receive an event from a system and the only thing it is the base event, is that going to fail or will it still pass as a CD event?
Yeah, things can be they can be just the base event themselves, but it can't be instantiated if that makes sense. Like it can't.
Right, like you're not gonna like you might get a base event, like someone could execute and send a base event blank, but it'll still the system won't like throw an error saying, "Hey, I didn't get a real event." It'll have a different error that says like nothing's implemented, and so
Yeah, it's empty
okay,
basically. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, if that's the case, then yes, that works because
Okay.
that was the whole point of the base event, right? To be the minimum that you would need to pass. And so if you needed to pass, you just wanted to have like the event have the
Mhm.
subject and headers and just be blank and everything else, you could still do that. And I think you were saying that because you're saying that the um event would be blank, but you'd have to have a subject, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, yeah, no, but that's literally what I meant by the base event. Like those fields have to be there and they have to have something in them. They can't
Okay.
just be the field and nothing. You need those fields with something to be so yeah, I think we're on the same page. If as long as it
Okay.
does that, that'll work across the
All
stack.
right. So, okay. So must have subject, context, and custom data
Yeah.
as required fields. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, like it's a base event, so it should be
Yeah.
pretty simple, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, so as long as that fits your criteria, like I said, like I'll probably have a PR. It's still in the works, but it'll happen pretty soon as well. Probably like end of this month is my thinking. So just call that out. And another major change that's going to happen with the SDKs is hooks. So SDKs will allow for hooks into the lifecycle, the event into the event lifecycle. So I've identified that there are, I think, four different places where hooks can live. So hooks can live in serialization, deserialization, sending, and receiving. So those are the four that I could see, sending and receiving. But there may be more, but these are the four core ones that I found. So if you need any other hooks into the life cycle, so like I said, hooks will allow you to add like, if you need more headers or if you need more metadata inside of your custom data, you can put it in there, right? Or if you need to deserialize it a little bit of a different way, you can go ahead and do that as well. So this will allow you to do whatever it is that you need. But these are the four that I'm thinking. So this is like sending via protocol
Okay.
and receiving via protocol. So in this case, HTTP, right? So yeah. So those are the ideas there. So it just allows for the SDKs to be a lot more flexible. Um, the reason why we want to do that is because we want to prevent users from creating their own SDKs. Not to say that you need to do that or that you have to follow this rule, but my thinking is instead, if you have a bunch of tooling that depends on like the SDK client, right? Once you
Hmm.
start wrapping it, it becomes harder to integrate with these tools. So instead, what you would do is you'd write these custom hooks and then just inject it into the SDK and still be able to use the libraries or the tools that depend on that, if that makes sense.
It sounds like it does.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm also in the process of hiring engineers, and so yeah, they will. I mean, and the MVP is, I'm sorry, not the MVP. The POC, I'm literally just going to do a node.
Okay.
just for speed and being able to demo something. When we actually build the MVP, that's when we'll circle back to either Java or Go and
Okay.
kind of work through some of those interfaces. But yeah, and I'll have a clearer context and idea as we are working with our vendor partners
Mhm.
of like how this needs to work. But it sounds fine, Ben.
Okay. Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'm just making sure that this, like I said, that this works for you in open source as well.
I
Like,
appreciate it.
yeah, yeah.
Appreciate
So,
it.
okay, awesome, awesome. So that is pretty much it. But like I said, SDK refactor should be goal is end of the month. And
Mhm.
since it's February, I don't know if it's the 29th or the 28th, like day that ends. Let's see. It's the 28th. Okay. 28th of February. Okay. So that's gonna be my goal is end of this month, is to get this out. So
Okay.
was there any other action items that you wanted to talk about, did DC? Have you started working on the namespacing or any of that, or are you still just waiting?
Well, no, I haven't literally, I'm literally setting up repos, this
Okay,
like,
okay.
you know, and the website. And so most of what I've been doing, of course, is just securing funding. And so, yeah, this is when these things will start to happen over the next couple of weeks. And then we'll dive in and start doing the work. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. So that, like I said, that's pretty much that all I had. So Victor, if you want to jump in with any of the questions or or
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm came here a while ago to talk about possibility of having a data ops event.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of thing that just only la last week we had a discussion, and there's also a new lead. So in data ops, so we decided that we are going to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
So I created a document sharing here. You don't need to put in the document. This is all just scratch pad at this point. Nothing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so um, yeah. So we like to start to create data ops events based on same thing that CD event has been the read the CDF event was created.
Mhm.
So this is all just starting point for discussion. Nothing formal. Just want to get your suggestion. If you of course if you have time, the data ops meeting will be next Wednesday at 11 Eastern.
Mhm.
Um,
This is awesome.
Next Wednesday at okay. Let me. So you said data ops next
data ops,
Wednesday
yeah, data ops 11, yeah. So
11, which
Eastern.
Eastern.
Eastern. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, yes. Once we get at initial format, we're going to reach out to whoever. So in this case, the CDEvents mostly it will be the CI/CD pipeline projects, right? So I would imagine the people who will be interested in the data events, data ops events, will be maybe even wider actually, because there's just so many different players in that field. Mostly will be the ETL, ELT, those kind of uh, projects or vendors.
Mhm.
Can
Um,
Would you be kind enough to, and I'm assuming this is like the doc is like, is the doc open? Okay, cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this doc, you have the data ops events. What would help really is to understand examples of the tools that actually present these events, and so that as we're having discussions with the greater groups, we can bring people who build those tools in to kind of vet, like, okay, do these data ops events work, right? Because,
yeah,
what we want to do is bring in all of the community. And this was one of the next things that we were going to try to do in this space is to bring in the data ops and all of the LML ops kind of stuff, and have real events for those. And oh my God, I've been trying to find someone to give me just this starter set so that we can have those discussions with the greater community and bring this together. So this is super awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Actually, there's so many. That's why I
yeah.
literally just
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like examples of the tools. You don't have to give me so many, just a few tools
okay.
that do it so that when we're talking about to people, hey, oh, it's a tool like X, right? And so the events map to a specific tool, like the CI events, you can say, oh, like if you're using Jenkins, this is where this would come in. Or the deployment events, oh, maybe you're using like Spinnaker, and this is where they come in. And that's all I want to be able to do. So like as I'm having
Yeah.
these discussions at a high level with executives, and I want to pull them
Hmm.
into the open source community to work on this, or I want to
Hmm.
send out marketing and saying, hey, this is why you should join the community. I need
Hmm.
to have that kind of
Yeah.
parity to bring those people in. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. That actually that's a really um, kind of hard question for me at this point because at this point I'm not sure. So for example, Informatica is the traditional, the data workflow vendor. You would say that that's
Hmm.
probably most related. But it can be also the data catalog uh, projects. It can be
Okay.
yeah. So at this point, I'm not completely sure. That's
So,
why it's
okay,
part of the
maybe I'll ask
discussion
this
next
question a
Wednesday.
different
Yeah.
way, is like if you're suggesting events, they have to be against an operation that a tool actually does, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so if you're suggesting events, you should know the tool that actually does it. Because who's going to admit the event if it doesn't exist?
Yeah,
And
it's all based on my observation in multiple. It's more for a requirement rather than from a data perspective, from supply chain perspective, rather than which vendor is already doing what.
Okay, so I guess the if we're making CD events, and this is the part of the disconnect when I first joined and the group and started down the path with CD events, there were events that people would suggest that no tool on the planet actually made. And so they, in the nature of those things, can't work because there's no way to emit the event, right? And so the tools themselves are orchestrators and that are going through steps. If this follows along the natural orchestration path or the expectation of other people who are in the business, like if I say, hey, let's do a build, do you know what a build is? And so if you're saying, hey, let's do agent request data access, right? Where in that tool chain does the agent actually make that request? What's the steps to get there? And if that's going to be what we talk about in the Wednesday meeting, I will definitely be there. If it doesn't conflict with the other open source meetings I have. But if you want this to map to a tool, we've got to figure out where in that process it works so they can actually spit out the event. Does that make sense?
I got you. Yeah. So
Okay.
what I'll do is I'll based on this thing, this is all just myself right now, so there's
Hmm.
no input from anyone else at this point. So what I'll do is based on the this category uh, that initially I come up with, I'll look for any vendor that's already doing this, right?
Yeah,
Let's
and it can
see
be
what.
open source too. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't, yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
it's as long as there's a tool example of
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
where you expect to get this event out, because then the other side of this is like if you're just kind of creating things like, oh, it'd be great if I had, but there's no way to get the data, then we can't actually implement the event.
Okay.
yeah, and Victor, the main thing whenever someone like introduces new subjects, new concepts into CD events, the first thing that we tell them is to give us the use case, give us some flow diagrams, kind of show us like, the path of this event, like its life cycle of the event itself. So yeah, I agree with what Dedisi is saying. And it sounds like you came at it from more of a theoretical standpoint, which, I completely understand. But, we need to come at it from a tooling perspective as well, right? Like theory is good, but like like Dedisi saying, if like no tools able to like fit the paradigms that that you're creating, then it's gonna be really hard for people to like utilize these events appropriately. And worse, they might utilize them improperly if no event,
Yeah.
if no tool supports that type of flow, right? So that's why we need to be very clear on the use cases and how we see these events, how we plan on these events to be used. And then secondly, CD events is actually not a good name. Like, because I know you said it's like CI/CD, but CD events, like, I think that was just the name that was chosen at the very beginning. Like, originally it was just really scoped to continuous delivery, but
Yeah.
it's actually anything in the software development lifecycle.
Yeah.
So data ops is in there, GitOps is in there. So it's all these concepts all can live in CD events. It's not limited to just the CI and CD, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Victor, I think the best way to think of it for the naming context is like this is the continuous delivery foundation. And so they're the continuous delivery foundations events system. That's all. That's how I think about it. And to keep it clear, because it's not like Ben's point, it's not about just CI CD or just CD. It's about the entire life cycle of the DLC platform itself and bringing that in a clear context to make all of this easier to use going forward.
Yeah. Understood.
Okay. All right.
And
Awesome.
then, oh, I was gonna say, do you want us to leave any comments on here, or do you want us to like message you, or how do you want us to like? Because
Um, yeah, maybe if actually because this is a very
at
so
the
the
very
it was
beginning, yeah.
and you're exactly right. This is all Siri at this point. There's no, I didn't even think about this going out to look at any vendor already doing something like this when it comes to
Mhm.
workflow. Yeah, you know what? Because I haven't opened it to the to even to the data ops group itself yet. So
Okay.
maybe if you can just Slack me at this point,
Okay.
and after that we can just officially open to the you know further discussion after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the reason why, because I'm just like looking at the vents and like there's already some things I think could be made a little bit better. So I think, if we just address them now before, you have other people working on the same assumptions, it might be better just to like clear those assumptions now, right? So
Right.
that's why I was thinking like maybe if you wanted us to comment on it or if you wanted us to like to Slack it to you. But it sounds like Slack
Well,
would work, right?
yeah, because we can still give
Yeah.
them the same information via Slack. And
Yeah.
I agree. I know, well, Ben and I used to work together, so I know where I think I know where he's going in this context. And yeah, so it's like how do we map the theory? And by the way, you're doing this absolutely right. By the way, Victor, even, it's like you come up with the idea and how you want it to flow first, and then you find out like if we can go backwards and make that fit in the tools, that's the absolute best way to handle that because you know where you want to go, and then we can figure out how to get there. But what comes out of this process when we map it to the tools is you'll find that some of the things that like the agent data access granted, you might have a agent data access event that tells you whether it was granted or declined, right? And it's little things like that where once you look at how the system is actually working, you can still get the same context out of what you were trying to get to. But it's like, okay, but how does the tool actually function and handle that work so that at that point where the orchestrator takes an action, we can have it emit an event.
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good. Oh, just FYI, the reason I'm actually interested in is not only from a CI/CD perspective. There's another community I'm involved in, SPDX SBOM community.
Hmm.
We're creating, not me, actually another gentleman from NIST is creating we call it universal persona list
Hmm.
for AI governance. So that's
Oh,
all the way from the basically whoever create the compliance, the policy requirements to whoever actually implement those, and along the way, all the different ops involved in the AI workflow.
right.
So that hopefully will be a kind of a list of a persona that everybody agree on, including NIST, ISO, IEEE, MITRE. Yeah, so that's why this is also interesting when from a process ops perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah. So Victor, me and Denise, like I said, we'll take a look at these. I'm pretty sure me and Denise are gonna have a handful of comments. So like I said, we'll just send it over like in Slack. I'll set up like a group chat with all of us, so me and Denise aren't sending the same things. But yeah. So, but this is definitely a good start. Like I really like, like I think it's better to be verbose, like having more events than than having too little, like just trying to
Yeah.
cover everything. So
Yeah.
I definitely think this is definitely a good start, but we can definitely clean up the events. We can definitely give some guidance as well. And if, the Wednesday meeting is that on the CDF calendar?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
Wednesday of it. Yeah, actually, if you maybe it's better. Maybe if you can clone the document and make changes on there, let me know.
Oh,
That
okay.
that's what.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
this the best practice, Sig?
No, it's not. There's a data ops initiative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that was okay. Yeah, yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
Lisa
there
used
is.
to talk to you
Yeah,
about this, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. No, that's literally what I was gonna say. That was Elisa's sake. Okay, all right, awesome, awesome. Yeah, okay,
This ch ch he switched to Databricks, and then it's UX now the new lead.
okay, all right, awesome, awesome.
Awesome, awesome.
So yeah, that is literally what I was trying to get Lisa to do is make this same list that you did so that we could implement it in CD events. So it's super awesome that you've taken this initiative and taken that step. And when we start to talk about like how that can work on an execution plane, that conversation, we should have at some point too, to talk about the bigger vision for like, and this is the tool that been named Conduit, and how having that data available across one execution plane, you can leverage that to do things with. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Of course, of course.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, if that's it, Victor, then that's all we had for today. And like I said, I'll review this and I'll have my comments probably to you by the end of the day. And one thing you can do, Victor, if you want me and Dedisi both to add comments directly to the document, maybe it makes sense to
Well, we're gonna do
clone.
it in Slack first, right?
Well, I think Victor said
What?
he wanted
Um,
it in the doc
I,
actually.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah,
sorry, sorry.
it was just not officially how to say. You know what? You're actually expert. I think they will understand. Go ahead and request. I'll just you can just change the document directly.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just add some comments as well. Yeah, but I'll request access. And like I said, I'll go over this. I'll have my comments there by the end of today. And then I'll be at the SIG meeting on Wednesday as well to kind of, see, see what the flow is going to be and see what anything conclusive that comes out of it and how we can help.
Yeah. Thank you.
All
All
right.
right,
Awesome.
awesome. Well, thanks everyone, and thanks Daisy, thanks Victor. It's a pleasure, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay.
Mm.
All right,
Ciao.
bye.
Ciao.
Bye.